All right, we're back, and this is another episode of White Noise, Geek Culture, and a whole lot more. I'm your host, Andrew Higdon, and with me today are my three great friends, Sam, Eric, and Scott. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing well.
Great.
So, when we were deciding on this week's topic, I kind of felt like we have, and that we being myself, Sam, and Eric, kind of stole the spotlight over the last 6 episodes, and we really haven't given Scott the chance to speak on something that he's
Thank you
passionate
for using.
about. And so, when we were deciding on the topic this week, I kind of turned it over to Scott and said, hey, why don't you think about something that you're really passionate about and kind of bring it to the table, and we'll, lead the discussion on that topic. And so, what Scott decided was, board games. What we love about them, it's definitely a part of geek culture that is, I don't think is represented as it should probably be as in importance. As computer gaming and electronic gaming have taken, leaps and bounds, board games are just that tactile experience that I think all of us just really still appreciate. It's like, okay, the difference between reading a book on an e-reader and reading a book.
That's a good.
It's
a good analogy.
You can't duplicate what it feels like to actually read a book on e-reader.
Right. You can't slam the book shut when it takes a turn you don't like.
Exactly.
Or throw it across the room.
Right.
Exactly. When your favorite characters.
Which you can totally do with a board game.
Totally.
You can flip the table.
You can flip the table.
Yeah.
You can smash people over the head with 2-liter bottles. And all things that have happened in the course of playing Risk. So we decided that we would kind of broach that topic and where we see board games kind of going with VR, that kind of stuff. I myself am definitely looking forward to the day where I can play VR Wizard's Chess. That would be awesome. So I've been thinking about it a little bit. But with that, I think I'll turn it over to Scott and let him kind of lead the discussion tonight.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Board gaming for me has just been a real social. At one point, it was a family-oriented thing, but I've branched out to some friends. Others have been not so friendly in this, but I understand. I understand the competitiveness in gaming. And it's just, I feel like we haven't really kind of talked about it yet, and we're not going to try to get into the video games or anything like that in this discussion. We want to we'll hold off on that for right now, but I'd like to just talk about board games and kind of what people enjoy, what I enjoy, and it can be, for me, kind of board gaming just kind of helps, helps me relax. Helps anxiety at the end of the day, that kind of thing, during the week.
It does bring camaraderie. When we talk about getting together with guys, one of the first things we go to is, hey, do you guys want to get together and play a board game?
Yeah.
Yeah, we find either something simple or something that can take a while. We've had games that last 9 hours.
Eclipse, anyway.
Yes, Eclipse. Yes,
We got to talk about Eclipse.
We will.
well, we will. I still waiting for my second version to come out, but yes.
Oh,
Yeah, back at a Kickstarter.
Right?
Yeah.
Was
So
there a Kickstarter?
there was a Kickstarter for version 2. So they kind of revamped all the rules, kind of threw away some things and kept others, because they've had all these years now of playing it and listening to players kind of talk about what kind of works, what doesn't.
Plasma missiles.
Yeah, plasma missile ships, that's what ends up happening. And then everybody else has to try to get computers to counteract it. And it kind of devolves into that. And so they kind of went back and reworked it to see if they can kind of build upon that. So yes, Eclipse is one of my favorite games just by the in-depthness of it.
It's totally amazing.
There's so much strategy involved, and I'm constantly learning something new. And trust is one, and another thing is how to build an effective ship and keep your homeworld, because Sam will take it.
I will never forget the day where Sam backstabbed me in the back and destroyed my army when I thought that he was my friend. I will never forget that.
Yes.
Because that was the day that I realized this nice friend that I have that is always polite, always caring. When he comes to board games, is as cutthroat as they come.
Yes. And treacherous.
And treacherous.
And he listens to his cousin.
Yes, I
When he
must,
shouldn't?
You know,
Yes.
I am responsible for my own actions, but there
You are also easily influenced.
extenuating circumstances, one of which is I'm easily influenced by, you know,
Family.
family,
Right.
particularly, you know, evil genius family.
But yeah, so Eclipse is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We haven't played it in a while, but it generally it takes a long time.
Yeah.
One thing I like about Eclipse is how the interpersonal relationships affect the game, but not to the point. I feel like in Settlers of Catan, if you just totally ostracize someone, it's like we're not going to trade with you. You can just get them out of the game entirely. In Eclipse, I mean, certainly it helps to build a good relation with other militaristic players or whatever. But at the end of the day, everyone's going to invade. And so I think there's a really good balance for the diplomacy side, where it's not all diplomacy and it's not no interaction at all.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have to decide, right? Are you going to invade to your right, to your left? Where you have every move you're defending or attacking.
Yeah.
There is a certain component to board gaming like that where there are games that are cooperative and there are games that are definitely every man for himself. Who comes up with the prize at the end of the game. And so you have those games where everybody's on the same side. Like Pandemic.
Yeah.
Pandemic,
Giant
yeah.
Sway.
Pandemic's awesome.
And then games like Risk where it's, okay, there's only going to be one person that gets out of this a lot.
Right.
And so there's different components of gaming in board games that invoke different emotions.
Right.
And, different things.
Imperial Assault.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Oh.
an interesting mix
Yeah.
of those
Yeah.
things.
Of
Where
those
it's
things,
I've
predominantly.
never had a successful game.
Yeah, we always seem to fail the mission, and we're going to get shot down, or something's going to show up at the last second and destroy us.
In my experience, they say, and it makes sense that the person who's the most experienced with the game should be playing the Empire and all of that. And in my experience, what that means is that the Empire always wins.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm actually a backer of the Empire in general. So yeah, I can follow that. But I never seem to, as a group, we never seem to be able to defeat the Empire when we're doing this.
Yeah, like Eric just said, I think largely comes down to who's playing the Empire.
Yes.
Which would be Eric.
Yes,
Well,
And
the evil genius.
he does play the dark side very well.
yes, but I remember in the first games that Sam and I played in Imperial Assault, Sam won a lot of games as the Rebels, and then we realized he was cheating. And then he won a lot less after that.
Yeah.
Cheating.
Well, it was more like a misreading of the rules type
Yes.
situation.
There was a spot
And-
in the
yeah.
rules.
Yeah.
Perhaps, a little bit of I don't really want to look up the rules anymore because this is working so well.
Right. There was a spot in the rules that said once per turn that he was ignoring.
Oh wow. Okay. So just kind of almost
but,
outright cheating.
Once,
Yeah.
Once you work through those things, it got a lot more balanced,
Yeah.
or rather,
Unbalanced in my favor.
unbalanced in Eric's favor.
That is an interesting component of gaming too, where there is a certain, games like Eclipse, I use that as an example, that are variable. Okay.
Oh,
It's
Oh, yeah.
just it's not the same game ever. And I like that about board games. I really do.
Yeah.
Games that can be every time you come to them a new game. There are certain things like plasma missiles that tend to unbalance things and that kind of thing.
But they don't always come up.
They don't always
They
come
don't
up.
always come up. No.
Or the computers that go with them don't come up. Or
Or neutron bombs
Or
don't come
neutron
up.
bombs don't come up.
It's rare, but I've seen it happen.
So, I mean, and especially when it involves Imperial Assault, there are times when, the rebels do well, And there are times when you don't understand the scenario or you haven't played it before and you do a roll and people die.
Yeah.
And
Right.
You open
kids go
the
to bed with tears, and I've seen it happen with Andrew's kids, man.
you open the door as your last thing action ever.
Yeah.
And there's stuff behind that door.
Eric and I, on Imperial Assault, Eric and I worked through 90% of a campaign.
It's more like 75.
75%. It was a lot of missions and side missions, and we were going well. And towards the end of that, I got on a new animation project, and I was working all day, and I was brain dead and just tired, and we would play at night. And there was one mission, and it was I was trying to keep Luke alive, and the last thing I did, and on my turn, was open a door to the hangar bay or whatever, where Darth Vader and a squad of stormtroopers were waiting. And as soon as I opened the door, it was Eric's turn, and every one of my guys died. And I went, I'm not no longer fit for command. I'm going to relieve myself of duty and declare we need to play something simpler here because this is not going well. Which is fun because it was a campaign. That actual scenario mattered. Where it wasn't just I had an off night. It was like no, I don't want to ruin my track record.
Yeah,
which is a fun dynamic to the game where it progresses. We played for months.
Yeah, you had a really good track record too, because that was the game where he was cheating.
Yeah, that's true. We all learned things.
The rules.
The rules
Yes.
being one of them.
So
Yeah, there is that component too that you have to deal with, where either someone doesn't understand the rules,
Yeah.
or someone definitely does understand the rules and they ignore them.
Right. That one's harder to deal with.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely a tough situation.
Especially when you're playing with friends. It's like interpersonal relationships in board
Right.
games tend to come out where, like, if you have any dysfunction, it's going to show up.
Yeah.
Like, it really is.
yeah, some of the rules again with Eclipse, the rules are pages and pages thick, and if you start adding the expansions to it, I mean, you're looking at over a dozen pages just in rules. And there's other games that we play. My dad and I play, and then my wife and I, we play a game called Skunk that apparently came back out in, I guess, the 50s or 60s. It's a simple dice game.
Skunk?
It's called Skunk. And all you do is you keep rolling. It's 6-sided dice. And instead of where there'd be a 1 pip, it would be it's a picture of a skunk on the dice.
Okay.
And if you roll the skunk, you lose points. So what it is you roll your dice and you just keep adding up your points. But every time you roll, you're taking a gamble. So what you do is you either save your points at a certain point. You can go, okay, I'll save these points. And then if you don't, you say, well, I'm going to roll to see if I can get a few more. You roll and you hit a skunk, you lose all those points. And of course, with the dice, there's 2 skunk. If you double skunk, you lose all your points. And so it's been it's a simple game. I mean, the rules are printed on the back of the box. And they're just like 2 paragraphs. So it's a simple game. We can bust out 5 or 6 of them in a night, and they're fun to play. And so then you get Eclipse, and of course you're having to read through dozens and dozens of rules, and you're having to go back and reference. So there's different aspects of gaming. So you've got the easier games.
That's a good point to bring up. Casual gaming is also gaming, right? It doesn't have to be a 9-hour game in order to be really playing a game. And a lot of times, like a game like that, something simple, something fun. I mean, you get together. How much more fun to do something like that while you make conversation than just sit there and talk? I mean, it gives you something to do, especially if you're like attention challenged.
Yeah.
Well, that leads into games like, and I don't know if any of you have any experience with this, but like Magic the Gathering, like collectible card games. I started playing Magic when I was 13 years old.
Wow.
Back in what would be Revised, which was way, way, way back. And it was really a lot like that. You could play a lot of games really quickly. It all depended on your decks. It depended a lot on your financial situation and what you could get, what you could trade for. There were definitely cards that were better than other cards. But one of the things about the game that has gotten better over time is you don't have to necessarily be loaded to make a good deck. You know, there have been decks that were made with, you know, most of the common cards that won tournaments. You know,
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fun to see. So there are all sorts of different elements of gaming. You know, like simple games
Yeah.
like Skunk versus collectible games versus games that take on hours. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are some of y'all's favorite games? Something that you either, you know, playing with other friends or, you know, other people and things like that. What are some you find yourself playing?
I've had a lot of fun playing Dominion, which is a deck building
Oh
game.
God, I love that game.
And
Yeah.
there are, what, 10 expansions?
More than
11, 12?
Who knows anymore?
Eric has them all.
Eric has them. Plus
Not
all the
anymore.
promos. No?
Not anymore.
It's I
Is
bought.
there?
Yeah, there are
We,
more
we
now.
have so many expansions. I bought a blackjack shoe. So each deck of cards, or you know, different kind of card has a randomizer card, right? So you deal out 10 cards and you get entirely new game, right? So we put 240
Something like that.
different card types, shuffled them all together, put them in a
Wow.
blackjack shoe, and we played 24 games without repeating cards.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was like playing for 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
It-
It was.
It was amazing.
Wow.
It was really hard to learn any particular card combos because
Right.
you
because
see
you're
it
dealing
once.
with-
Yeah.
But just, I mean, you talk about variety. Dominion has an amazing variety, even with just, the base game, and then you add in a
It's a simple
expansion or
game
two.
too, but it's
Yeah.
so fun.
Yeah.
It's one of those great games where essentially you read the card and the rules on the card. You know,
Yeah.
you need the basic framework. This is how cards work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then anything, it's pretty much on that card.
And having it change all the time helps you not get into the same strategies too. So you're not falling into the same. Well, these cards are out, so we all know everybody's going to go after this kind of setup.
Right.
You know, it's with all the different decks and all the different cards. You can sit there and you have to come up with a new strategy every turn if you want to keep ahead.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And one of the things, Dominion, I find, does a really good job as a two-player game. Where a lot of good board games struggle in a two-player environment.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't always have 3 or 4 or 6 people to play with.
Yeah.
So Dominion works really well with two-player, as well as 4-player.
Yeah, that's one of the games that I've played a few times, and my wife enjoys it too. Which she likes gaming. She just doesn't like complicated gaming. So last night we played Catan.
Okay.
And I ended up kind of doing some not so good things, trade wise with her. So she kind of shut me down the rest of the game trading. And so I ended up finally winning, but just because my dad and my wife wasn't really paying attention to the rest of the board, so I ended up winning. I couldn't expand anymore. We played to where you have to have 10 points on the board.
Okay.
So 10 on the board. And I had expanded my roads. I had cut this island in half, but I couldn't keep building settlements and cities. So I could only get 9 points on the board max. I couldn't build anymore. But they didn't know that. They didn't see that. So my wife went out, not realizing that I had that I could do that, but I had an extra victory point and two extra victory points. So I ended up winning anyway. But yeah, she shut me down. So yeah, and we play that as a 3-player game, and that's pretty fun. So
you that's one of your favorites?
that's one of my favorites. I'd say right now, my favorite game is still Eclipse, even with the faults that it currently has. I still enjoy that game. I don't think I've really ever won a game, like outright been number one. I think it's usually always been.
It's a fun game.
It's just a
Yeah.
fun game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think Eric kind of wins, but when he tells Sam to do things.
Yes. When Sam listens to me, I win.
Yeah, that's so true. I like the production quality on
It's very
that.
good. It's
Yeah.
very
Because
good.
that is not a given, right? You
Yeah.
get games and like the cards are really thin and floppy, and
I got a copy of Dungeon from like the 90s. It's a lot like that.
Yeah, and I mean, it really makes a difference if it's
Production quality.
good printing, good, figures.
Yeah.
Figures are great.
The
Oh
figurines.
man,
Yeah.
I want to talk about that. If we're talking about favorite games, okay, I'm not talking about in adulthood because Eclipse would be definitely one of my number ones. I'm talking about games that I've played since I was a kid. Okay, there are two games that are my favorite. One is Dungeons and Dragons. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
I've been a fan of Dungeons and Dragons since like second edition. I mean, like growing up, that was it. You know, I love Stranger Things and that whole dynamic of that. Love the show, but I love that idea that these kids play Dungeons and Dragons because that was me playing with my friends when I was that young. But my favorite game of all time is a game called Heroes Quest. It's not made anymore. The production quality of that is a lot like what you're talking about with Eclipse, and it was a campaign style game.
Okay.
You could understand it as a kid. It had miniatures that you could then paint.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
But it was like this really modular, you put it together, you could make your own quest, and we played the heck out of that game to the point where it fell apart. And
Yeah.
now, if you wanted a copy of that game on eBay, $700.
Wow.
No way.
Yeah,
Wow.
they do not make it anymore. But that's how games like Dungeon were. What is it, Descent that I have at the
Yeah,
house,
yeah,
have built on success of games like that. And that's another aspect of gaming that we could really kind of delve into after this discussion of favorite games. And Eric needs to go and talk about his favorite game. But evolution of gaming from when you were a kid
Right.
Yeah.
to now that we're adults. So,
Yeah.
Eric, I'll let you pick up on
Yeah.
the favorite gaming idea.
Okay. Probably one of my favorite games would be the Firefly board game.
Oh, yeah!
That is a sweet game.
Because
That's
it
so
is,
good.
it's a really good game. Again, it has pretty good production value and holds up. But it just, when you're playing it, it feels like being in the show.
Oh, and the show was amazing.
And it was. And you just really, they captured it so well. And it's a fun game to play and takes several hours plus setup. But
Anyway.
It's just a lot of fun. And it's the kind of game that you have fun losing.
Yeah.
You know, you can get woefully behind, and it's still fun to play and do the thing because it just feels like you're in the world.
Well, it feels like you're in Serenity. I mean, they
Yeah.
weren't
Yeah.
always winning.
No,
You know,
exactly.
most
They
of the
were
time
losing.
They were losing.
You know,
Yes,
like,
yes.
They're
Yeah.
down on their luck. You know
That's
what I mean?
right. Just when you think things are things are looking up and we're gonna make some money, and then
nope.
reverse.
That's real life, man.
That's how it
Yeah.
goes. That's how it is in the verse. You know?
Universe is unforgiving, man.
No, that is a fantastic game.
That's what I haven't played in a while. I think we
Yeah.
I think we played it a long time ago.
I think the last time that I even looked at that game was with you two, was with Sam and Scott over here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
playing with, and
I think you were in another state at that time.
I
they
think
were
so.
back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite a while back. But yeah, that
Because
is a
again,
good
it's
one.
another one of those games that
Yeah.
takes hours to play.
Firefly, the board game.
Yeah.
And I've seen that in shops. That's not a rare game. You know,
No.
you
No.
go to a local game store.
No, it is not.
I mean, I saw it at I think it was Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, I've seen
You
it
know,
there.
Barnes and Noble's
They carry.
they're carrying games. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, they had a World of Warcraft game when
Yeah.
that one was out.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
impressed.
Yeah,
Oh.
stores have started expanding beyond the
Even
Monopoly,
Walmart. Even
yeah.
Walmart
Yes.
has Catan
yeah,
and-
yeah, they have
Yeah.
Catan. They're
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
past that kind of that intro stage, the introductory stage of the more the
Right.
simpler, the younger generation
right.
of
It's
games.
not just Monopoly and categories and
But that's where I
Apples.
started.
Yeah.
I'm not going to start on Candyland,
Yeah.
dude.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
oh man,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Way
Life.
back when.
Yeah.
life.
Like, as a kid.
Life,
I love it
Candyland.
when-
I lost
when
more
the-
friends on Monopoly
Yeah.
than I've ever experienced in
When
my whole
you're-
entire life.
When you're spinning the wheel in life and it jumps off the peg and goes careening across the board and cars and children and
Yeah, you
Trouble,
kill whole
Hippos,
families.
and
Yeah.
Operation, and
Oh, yeah.
all these
Yeah.
games that got us started, man.
yeah.
You know,
And
Started.
and now we've grown into other games, but I mean we still enjoy those games. My wife and I will still play Monopoly from time to time, and we play it 2-player, so it's you kind of know when you're losing. So we'll just say, okay, you're winning
Yeah.
in the game,
That-
so we can
that's-
start another one.
That is wise
There's
because
another dynamic of it.
the Monopoly where it really gets bad is the prolonged defeat.
Or
Everybody knows who's winning,
and you're going to get smushed.
but you've got 3 hours left to go.
right,
Yeah.
before somebody takes over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is now I'm growing up, and I have kids. My oldest is now 5 years old, which I can't believe. But she's starting to get games. So it's like, Daddy, will you play this game with me? And like, she's finally getting to the age where she can play like
Yeah.
Candyland.
Yeah, or that sandwich building game.
Oh, Eat the Cats, Big Lunch.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
That was a
Eat
good
the
game.
Cats, Big
That was
Lunch.
a
Yeah.
good game. I remember playing that.
Yeah, she loves that one. Anyway, but it's just interesting, to grow up and to see your kids start experiencing the things that you experienced when you were a kid.
Yeah.
That's a great feeling. It's a great feeling as a father.
Another one that I've kind of enjoyed from time to time is the X-wing miniatures.
Oh, Andrew loves that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The beautiful miniatures.
Oh,
And
that
Yeah.
talk about,
3D printing has really
Yeah.
taken a turn.
talk about
in
production
that.
value.
Yeah, because now you can order your own character. You can build your own character and everything like that.
Wow.
But anyway, that's on the side of what
Yeah.
you want to.
Yeah.
But the production quality of
The
X-Wing,
painting on those,
oh, it's just
the
absolutely
styling.
stellar.
What I love about it is they're miniature, but they're so detailed. They look like the miniatures from the films, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can totally go.
You could totally make
This,
your own.
oh yeah, this is what they shot on. I mean, okay, theirs was probably a little bit bigger than this.
But that's what they
It's the same
made.
thing.
That's what
Yeah.
they made back then.
It's a miniature.
Yeah.
Take a
Yeah.
GoPro, add some
Yeah.
fog, and hang one
Yeah.
from the ceiling with a black curtain behind, and now you've
Bang
got a space battle.
Stars in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go warp speed.
Red leader.
The interesting thing about that is I was watching Star Trek: The Next Generation the other day, and I was thinking about what she said, how the production quality still holds up after so long because it was a miniature, man.
It's a miniature.
It's a
That is-
miniature.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you. I'm telling you.
Oh,
That's why it looks good.
Mm-hmm. It does.
you know that from your line of
That's
work,
right.
Yeah.
Real lights, real reflections, real material. I mean, it's
It,
Can't
yeah,
beat it.
it's still
better.
it's still there.
It'll last longer.
I was in 3D animation in college, studying 3D animation. This would have been about 2005 to 2008, and at that time, 3D animation had finally really creating 3D models for movies or video or for gaming had really come a long way at that point. And so, kind of getting into it, it was pretty in depth. It was a competitive field at that time, and not that it isn't now. It still is now, but it's changed.
It's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Ever since you were in school when Star Wars was the prequels.
The prequels, yeah.
Yeah.
So the prequels, yeah. So seeing the prequels, and then of course I had the originals on VHS, and of course they were in the regular format, 4:3 instead of widescreen. So yeah, it was finally seeing everything kind of come into a digital age at that point in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. Then getting into 3D animation, you can see a shift and a change, but you could still tell that computer gaming at that time was still, wasn't the full-on realism like we have with the miniatures, like we do now.
Right.
And so with the miniature gaming, having the miniatures in your games, that like we were talking about with the tactile feedback, that you can immerse yourself because you can see yourself as the ship, or you can see yourself as that character running through that map, and your imagination can really start taking hold.
Yeah.
Also,
Well, it's like Eric in his Imperial Assault game got a bunch of painted figures. Because the Imperial Assault, great game, but the figures aren't painted.
Yeah.
So you ordered these off the internet?
Some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're so much better. It's like, oh
Yeah.
wow, look, the actual white stormtroopers, so much cooler.
Oh, yeah.
Than the stormtroopers that are the gray color.
Yeah.
I was a kid, I painted my own, man.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
an amazing thing. So you get down
Yeah.
and like spend hours and hours and hours doing miniature painting.
Yeah, and that's something I want to touch on a little bit too. Is I feel like that style of game is actually making a little bit more of a resurgence now, where the X-wing miniatures, they come painted and that's what they are, and that's really cool, and you get a lot of the really fine detail from that. But we're also seeing more games come out that are more like Star Wars Legion, I think. Is the name of it.
Warhammer.
Or like Warhammer, where they're,
collectible
you know,
miniature games.
and it's build them yourself and paint them and
Yes.
and customize them to be yours.
Right. If you want a pink stormtrooper, you can make a pink stormtrooper.
Yeah.
Man.
That's right.
So that's an interesting dynamic that we're seeing now too.
Yeah, I never played Warhammer. Have any of y'all played Warhammer?
I have.
You
I
have.
I
played
have
Warhammer.
played it. I did not get into it as a kid. Wanted to. Thought it was the coolest thing ever. But man, you're talking about
Oh, yeah.
money.
Serious.
Plastic crack.
Yeah.
I could not afford it.
Yeah.
Especially not with my Magic the Gathering.
Oh, yeah.
collection,
Oh, yeah.
Sinkhole in itself.
You had to choose.
You got
Yeah.
to choose as a kid. And I vividly remember my dad saying, if you quit swimming, I will buy you a box of Magic cards. Guess what I did? I don't even quit swimming.
Wow.
Got a box of Magic, and I definitely would never look back. I hated swimming. Anyway,
That's an easy choice.
Easy
I
choice.
hated competitive swimming. Yes.
But so with gaming now compared to back when we were children, we had played some of the simpler games, and there were some more adult advanced games at that time, not quite popular. Really, we didn't see kind of, I guess, more of a mainstream takeover until probably the 90s into the 2000s is when you really had Magic come out. Dungeons and Dragons had come out earlier, but it really didn't. You didn't see it get into the movie. Into movies
Dungeons
and
Dragons,
yeah.
the movie was
yeah.
awful.
Because
Yeah.
the geeks hadn't won yet.
Yes,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they have now.
Right?
Like it's cool
Yeah.
to be a geek now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it is.
It's
Yeah,
cool to be a geek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Big Bang Theory. Right there.
totally.
So playing what we have now, and then trying to see what might happen in the future of gaming here has been kind of something I've been kind of looking at, trying to see where gaming is going. What seems to be kind of popular, what's kind of starting to fade a little, and really a lot of things that have the miniatures and card building. Those seem to be the two types of games.
Not just in
Yeah.
tactile gaming, but
Yeah.
in computer gaming. Like there's a lot of things like Pathfinder, which was made from people that used to work on it. Dungeons and Dragons, who
Yeah.
had disillusioned with the fact that it's really kind of watered itself down and tried to appeal to the masses, getting back to that core gaming, okay, that core idea that started it all. That's a big resurgence I'm seeing in gaming.
And where this is going, people are still kind of speculating, but augmented reality and virtual reality seem to be taking hold. And augmented reality would be kind of neat because you use your real environment, but with overlays. But something that might be able to give you a little bit more feedback and stuff like that. Kind of like
It's so cool. Apple's working on their own
Yeah.
version of Google, the Google Glasses. Yeah, working on their own augmented reality technology, which is just that augmented reality technology is going to be something, especially in the next 10 years, that you're going to see just take hold. Things like augmented reality on car windshields that tell you how fast things are going in front of you, what the cars are, what the make, especially in law enforcement.
Oh yeah.
Reading the license plates, it's like how fast is that person going? What are they driving? Who's the occupants of it? Who's registered to? All that stuff. It can get kind of scary. When
Yeah,
you think
yeah.
about it. But if when you're talking
Yeah,
in
it
terms
sounds like Minority Report.
when you're talking about in terms of gaming, that whole idea of augmented reality, I think would be great.
Yeah, because I'm thinking things like maybe even, like the X-Wing game, your miniatures then
Yeah.
could literally be flying around. You choose their paths, you choose, you'd still have the same setups of,
Yeah.
which direction you're going to go, and you choose that, but then you could see them actually doing the thing. So it kind of a blending between the two
well,
almost.
like the chess game on the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah,
that would-
that would be, yes.
It's just like that.
That would
That
be
yeah.
idea that
cool.
you don't have to actually have the miniatures. You have the augmented reality technology, and you immerse yourself in it. That VR
Yeah.
experience.
And you
is
go,
something
wow,
that
who animated those miniatures? That looks
That was
great.
really
Yeah.
great.
Sam over
And
here.
will that take over? The resurgence that you have now is pushback against all this computer technology.
Yeah.
The idea that gaming on smartphones, gaming on those things. You're seeing a resurgence of games like board games, things, tactile experiences. Books are becoming more popular. Newspapers that were going out are now thriving because people are really wanting that printed medium. They want something they can hold in their hand.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me that
Yeah.
augmented reality, virtual reality, computer gaming, regular gaming. I grew up playing everything. Nothing beats the experience of getting together with friends, like this podcast, and talking, interacting, playing together. That idea of playing with a real person, not online, not in multiplayer, not augmented reality, not virtual reality, playing with an actual product sitting right in front of you.
Right.
You cannot beat that.
In the backstabbing.
And
goes
that might
along with
be
it.
me.
Yeah, exactly.
That might be me being old, because I am getting up there. But damn it, I'm gonna fight until I, can't fight anymore for it. But I was your age.
Yeah. But
We used to play games with cards.
That's right.
and that's part of it too. I think a lot of gaming is that people our age grew up with gaming and maybe some of the simpler games or knew some of the older games, but then started maybe have gotten into video games. I was big into video games. I played every PlayStation system ever came out. It just had all these different games that went along with them, and going through all of them, I realized that after a while, I put them down and put them aside, and just never played them. I've still got the game, still got the system, still have the saves, so I could pick them up right where I left off. But I would have to kind of relearn the whole feel of it again,
Spider-Man for the PS4.
and so I feel like with board gaming, next week, with board gaming. You play it when you're 20, at 90, it's still the same game. You're still gonna know it. You're gonna get out,
pick it up, and you're still gonna play it.
and it's not gonna be difficult. Like say I'm 90, my hands are decrepit, and I'm not gonna be able to hold the controller anymore. I feel like I'm still gonna be able to do board gaming. I may have someone else throw the dice for me, but hey,
Well, think about this: has Monopoly changed since we were kids? No.
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 Despite the fact that there's about 1 billion versions
Yeah.
on all
Yes.
sorts of different
Yeah, but they all play on the same
board
principles.
and the same principles. Okay, Monopoly has not changed since we were kids. All right, I'm almost 40 years old at this point. I can still pick up a Monopoly game and it's still the same dang game. Now, I will say some of the pieces have changed
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
But the rules haven't. The way the board's shaped haven't. I mean, that was a game that was created, I know way before I was born. And it's still the same game, What, I don't even know, 50 years later, 60 years later? I don't know how old that game is at this point. I have to look it up.
yeah, it's one that's been around forever, and another one I know Sam and Eric have been playing, but my father and I have been playing is cribbage. And
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, you want to talk about card games?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's great, and my dad and I have been playing it. And so the other day, my father went and visited his father, my grandfather, and asked him if he still remembered. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to play that." He hadn't played it in probably 20 years because our family just kind of grew up and split and kind of just went their own ways, and so there isn't this get around the table and play anymore. But he remembers, and my dad. And I remembered a little, and my dad and I have been now playing quite a bit, so we're going to go down and hopefully play with him. and see, and enjoy it. And I know he's going to enjoy it. It'll be something that we can all do together as a family. And it's something that, again, he hasn't played in 20 years, but he knows the rules.
How old is that
Yeah.
game?
Yeah.
How old
Yeah.
is chess?
My great grandfather played cribbage.
Yeah.
That was one of our.
Poker has been around since
Yeah.
the 1800s.
Yeah.
Chess has been around since the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
You know,
Good
like,
heavens.
Pente, like it's a game I used to play when I was a kid with my father. And that's like a lot like, oh God, what is the game with the white and black chips? This based on Chinese, like Go.
Okay.
Go Othello. Go.
I think it's Go.
There are a bunch of
There are a bunch of
similar
versions, yeah.
games, which are probably all
All
more or less
based
the
on
same game.
Chinese, on the Chinese game that was played back in the 1400s.
Yeah.
No, like really. And chess might actually be even older than that. It might be as old as like Roman times. I cannot remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I
But it's old.
Yeah.
I
But it's
know,
old.
totally.
Golf is an old Scottish game.
Well,
Or
yeah, I mean, originally, right, when the bull roarer 2 knocked the head off of Goldfingal,
Right.
Yeah.
that's
Right, and it went down the
and it went down the
rabbit
rabbit
hole.
hole, right?
Yeah.
It was fun.
that's when it was.
Yeah. I'm surprised we didn't cover this 2 weeks ago when we were talking Tolkien. What's crazy is that made it into the movie.
It did.
It did.
It
It
did.
did.
It
Anyway.
did. But yeah, that idea that you can get together with family from multi generations and still play, games like that is great. I used to be quite a card player in my younger days. Still am to a degree. I've gotten out of it now that I've gotten married and have kids. You can't spend weekends at the casino anymore. Taking people's money like I used to do.
It's the good thing. It's when they're taking your money. That's
It's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I used to be a little bit of a card shark, and still probably would be if I hadn't settled down. There are some things like gaming on every night of the week, or like that. Being a father and a husband, I'm not allowed to. Or not, no, I'm say allowed. 'Cause that's maybe not allowed. But
No, I think you could say that.
I would definitely run into issues if I told my wife, hey, I'm going to go play board games.
every night.
When the kid's
Yeah.
going to get paid? When is dinner going to get done?
Yeah.
There are things in life that come before board games.
That's
Yes.
true.
But-
That's true.
But I find that we can always make time for them. That's another thing.
And when you see, when your kids get old enough, like yours, you're starting to get there, and you start playing games with them, and then as they grow up, hey, there's another person you can play a game with, right? Because you never go, oh no, we have too many people who want to play board games.
You
Yeah.
never do.
Yeah,
Never
unless you have
do
a
that.
giant party of people
Well,
trying to play
okay.
one game.
Yeah.
I mean, yes,
Yeah,
but
it's hard to play board games with 14 people
that-
and play all one game.
all one
Right.
game is tough.
It's
I
tough.
mean, do they have board games like that?
They do.
Mafia.
They do?
Mafia was kind of
Quelf.
Quelf.
Oh,
I've never played Quelf. What is Quelf?
It's awful.
Is
It
it?
is awful.
It's an awful game?
It's a big party
It's
game.
party.
It's party.
I hate
Kind of
party
like
games.
it,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
reminded me of Cranium a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate party games.
Yes,
that-
it is that. It is the embodiment of that.
Okay.
Pictionary.
Pictionary. Speaking of Pictionary, you would think, being an artist, I would be good at Pictionary. Dadgummit, I am the worst player, and my wife will not play with me anymore because I'm so bad at it.
She'll be on someone else's team.
I haven't played in forever, but
I cannot draw that fast.
Yeah.
I'm not a fast drawer. I'm not a fast artist. I have to have time to think about it. How to make the perfect design. I
Yeah.
find I overthink it. And so like my drawings come out like draw a dog. It comes out looking like an elephant.
I thought that was the tail. When did that end up becoming the other?
Yeah. So she's like, is it an amorphous blob?
it's an amoeba.
And it's eating another amoeba. That's got to be what it is. No.
Yeah, I won't play Pictionary again with my wife.
Another.
Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah, Trivial
Yeah,
Pursuit. I was at the women's shelter the other day, and they had two different versions of Trivial Pursuit. They were slightly different colored boxes, but they looked like they were still from the mid '80s.
Right. I love the old
Yeah,
ones.
yeah. And so I know we have one somewhere. It's probably missing some pieces, little, cake-looking pieces, triangle pieces.
Right.
And I thought about picking them up just to kind of add to it and just have this huge collection of it. But then I was like, I don't know if I want to drop $20 on, $10 a box.
You start talking about sports from the 80s, and I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, there is no way.
And I will never forget who made the toilet. Thomas Cracker.
Yes.
Period. Blew my mind.
Hey, I tell you what trivia game I like. That's Lord of the Rings trivia.
I like Lord of the Rings Risk.
Lord of the Rings?
That's fun.
But Lord of the Rings Trivia Pursuit, or just trivia?
No,
it's
no.
A
it's
trivia
actually,
game
it's
where
a
you
trivia
get-
game, and it
yeah.
actually has like game mechanics. Answering the questions, obviously very important. You have a hard time doing well if you can't answer questions. However, that is not all there is to the game. You have to essentially pay your way, so you get rewarded for answering questions, and then you have to, it costs to move on.
Yeah.
So you have to
But-
balance risks versus payoff, because there's other stuff that even if you get the question right,
Wow.
you
Yeah.
still get penalized. So.
Yeah, but still, the hardest part of that game is finding other people to play with you.
That's right. Finding other people to play.
It's never a good
Who
idea
have
to
that-
play a trivia game with the person who owns it.
Yeah, definitely.
And the amount of knowledge of that, it seems like y'all have talked about it before, and the amount of knowledge to have to even be able to play that game, I feel like there's this huge entry barrier. Is there really that big?
no.
of an
Now,
entry?
in this game, so that there are multiple choice, 3 or 4 answers depending on the
Difficulty of the question.
But bringing the rules, they're like, some people just know all this stuff anyway. Don't read them the questions. Right?
The answers.
Yeah, no, or the questions. I mean, wow, they're really good.
Yeah, just handle it.
But yeah, then so some people wouldn't get the multiple choice answers.
Right. Which makes some questions hard. Like, which of these is not?
Yes. Which of these places did the descendants of Shelob not move to?
Okay.
To which the answer is, of course, the Grey Havens.
Because you have to know this.
Because you just have to know.
Anyway, that's
It's all out like Trivial Pursuit.
It is.
yeah.
Well, so we know at least one answer to one
Yeah.
Right.
question.
There you
Okay.
go.
There
So
we
I
go.
bet y'all are like, I want to be on your team if I'm playing Lord of the Rings Trivia.
So
Yeah.
there's no actual anybody else but just y'all that know everything, and everybody's on y'all's team. And there's have y'all
I don't know.
found
If
other people that you can?
If you found other people that you could, competitively play that game with,
Mostly each
just
other.
Each other. Eric and I go back and forth on that game.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
so you're kind of building up this huge knowledge
Right.
base.
Which makes it harder and harder to find people to play with.
Right.
Because you know the answer to every
We
question.
know that, yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
memorized the cards.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Are they still making this game or expansions
No.
or
No.
anything?
Old
An
Okay.
old game.
Old game.
Yeah, I found it in a game store, which in Millington, Michigan. It was in Millington, wasn't it?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
closest
Red
game
Dragon?
store we have, besides the Gamers Hollow, which is down the street, is the one in Tyler. Is the one in Tyler still there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still
I
there.
think so.
No.
Yeah, it's still
That's
there.
a nice store.
That's a nice store. Yeah.
Yeah, I love. I mean, if
I love
I'm
game
in a
stores.
town
Yeah.
and there's a game store, I
Dude.
mean,
There's nothing better than going in there and looking at all board games you can't afford.
yeah.
Yeah, all of
You
them
know-
lined around the top of the wall.
And you
ceiling.
hate to go. Oh, I bet that's cheaper on Amazon. I bet that's cheaper on Amazon.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
want to
and
support
most
your
of the
local
time-
games.
Most
It
of the time,
is.
it probably is.
Right.
Yeah.
But there is something really valuable about having a local game store. That I mean, it's
Yeah.
worth a few extra bucks.
Well, support your
To-
local
to
comic
buy.
store. Support
Yeah.
your
Oh,
local
yeah.
gaming
I
store.
totally.
Well, you found a really nice D20 at Gamers
Yeah,
Hollow.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'll tell you,
The first
you go
time-
in there, a lot of game stores have the bowl of dice by the register. And there's a D20 in there, right? It looked good. Picked it up, roll on the counter, comes up a 20. You have to buy it. It's a rule.
That's a rule.
Yeah.
If you roll a
That is
20
rule. That is a
On your
rule.
first,
Unspoken.
you have to
Yeah.
buy it.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was pretty
So,
happy
yeah.
with that. It's been a good dice for me.
Yeah, I mean, you could buy the big bags off of Amazon, but you don't get to roll them. You don't know what you're getting. Could be a
Yeah.
lot of
You don't get to
quality.
hold them. You don't get to
and you
hold
spend
them.
hours
Yeah.
and hours testing them all.
Yes.
The amount of dice that I used to have as a kid is just insane. I used to collect dice, so I had golden flaked ones,
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh,
the
yeah.
clear
Yeah.
iridescent ones, and all the different colors and huge bags. And my favorite thing to collect were the little glass beads. Okay? Like my first collection I ever got of Magic the Gathering included light counters. There were these glass beads.
Nice.
And I remember the glass beads from when I was a kid playing Pente with my dad, which is a Greek game. The little glass colored beads that are like half marbles, you know. I loved those. I thought those were just so pretty and so great. You know, those components of games, especially since we were kids, you know, D20s remind me of Dungeons and Dragons every time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
they're great.
yeah.
I've collected a few that were aluminum, solid aluminum that they
Oh,
milled
that's
out.
sweet.
Yeah, so
Oh,
you know, kind of a
sweet.
neat design, and they roll. They're very well balanced, quite heavy, so you don't want to roll them on your mother's furniture.
Right.
Right, always a concern.
Yeah.
Denting?
Yeah,
Denting,
o-
scratching.
oversized dice or
Metal dice,
metal
or-
dice. Sharp.
Sharp. Yeah, I've got
Dark
a
dice. Some dice.
I've got a 6-sided they're made of solid silver, so
Yeah,
they're nice. They're heavy to roll, and they'll definitely dent and scratch things up. But I love rolling them,
Yeah.
especially Monopoly, because it feels like, oh yeah, that's the game
Oh,
you're gonna
yeah.
roll silver
Oh, yeah.
dice with. Is you know,
Yeah.
money.
Silver dice.
Got them a long time ago down in Mexico. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so what are some of the other games that that you've been wanting to like play or you haven't really gotten to yet? Anything in particular?
I every year for Christmas I make a wish list of games that I want every year, and every year I don't get them. So I keep making the wish list. There is a game that they don't make anymore. It's the World of Warcraft game that I've always wanted that game. Never got to play it. Never got the game. Now I've read reviews of it. It's not a very good game. It's not very well made or well received. But heck, I wanted to play it. And so I have a list of all sorts of stuff that I would love to play. And really, because I am such a gaming nerd, or geek in this case, geek culture, anything. I'll play anything once.
Dice Forge.
Dice Forge.
I actually enjoyed that game, but I know Andrew Ship.
I don't think you were there. It was Andrew
I
Ship.
played Dice
Were
Forge.
you there?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah,
Andrew
okay.
was like very unimpressed.
It
with
was
the game.
not a great experience.
Speaking of Andrew, we need to have him on here
Yeah,
as a special
we need
guest.
to.
tonight.
Yeah.
We need to get that.
Definitely.
We need that to happen. Now that we're getting a little, stride.
Right.
I think.
Right.
But he was
Now
not
that we're
impressed with that
getting
game.
a stride, we need to bring him in here and throw us off.
Right,
Throw us off,
exactly.
Yeah, that,
Yeah, that's just, we'll bring in special guests when we get a little farther down the road.
Yeah.
That's just somebody that I was thinking about that definitely could add to a conversation
Oh yeah,
like this. But
absolutely.
he hated that game.
Oh,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know.
oh yeah.
I know.
Absolutely,
It was
he
great.
hated it.
It bringing the game, we knew it was a bad game. Eric and I played it, and
Yeah.
we went, "This is not a good game."
Yeah. It's horribly
It's
unbalanced.
very well made.
Production-wise, it's
Good
great.
production.
Yeah.
Horribly balanced.
The balance is awful. But we took it in. It's like, hey, let's play this. It's quick, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And so having
You knew it was a bad game.
Oh
you
yeah,
brought it
oh
up.
yeah. And having it felt so badly for Andrew. Both games in a row, bang bang, nothing he could do. That was like the best that game was ever going to accomplish.
Yeah.
In its life, because now it's
Well,
well,
that and now, anytime we go over there to play games, we bring it.
yes. Every time. We brought Dice Forge.
Have you ever played that?
No,
since?
that's
No.
never. Never.
Sell it on Amazon. No.
I actually enjoyed it, but I think it was because I was doing successful. So
There you go.
If you're on the receiving end
Yeah.
of that game,
Oh, yeah.
you are pissed.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
There's nothing.
there's
you can
nothing you can do.
Nope.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the game. It's not just that it doesn't work or whatever. It's that it's unbalanced. One person will do really well, always, and usually it's the person who goes first.
do. Yeah.
Is a game unbalanced like that if one person always does well and the other people don't? Is it unbalanced?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really
Okay.
is. It,
Yeah,
No, it,
like that it is because it doesn't matter.
doesn't matter
What you do,
you're gonna lose.
You're gonna lose if you go for it.
And
There's
that's
such,
another
there's such an
component.
advantage for going before the other players.
There's another component of gaming is that idea of losing. You know, like I have played with some friends that are very sore losers and it sucked. Once
Yeah.
and it sucked once you play. Once you
Yeah,
play
and
with
that's
them.
no fun.
No, because they don't want to play again, and you're like, well, I want to play that sport.
Yeah, but exactly.
Yeah.
Or
They're willing to play again, but you don't want to because okay, but if I do well, it's gonna be awful.
right.
Yeah,
Right,
the
yeah,
experience.
that's-
So then I'm gonna try and
guilt.
throw the game?
Oh, God,
Yeah.
especially with my kids, man. I'm like, daggone, if I beat you, you're gonna cry.
Well, yes, if you beat kids, they shouldn't.
And like even like as a father, my competitive nature comes out, and I want to win, and I'm like,
Well, it's a learning experience.
it is a learning experience. You
Yeah.
can't always win, kid. You better learn early.
The house always wins, and I own the house.
Yeah. Of course, I don't have kids, so I can't like actually empathize
Right.
directly with that. I feel like I would just be competitive.
It comes out, man. I'm telling you,
I'm
right
a
now.
nice guy, but
In a game, when it comes out,
You would
I have
steal
a
their
really,
home.
you
really,
have
Yes.
really
you
hard
have a split
time.
personality when it comes to
Yeah,
gaming.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
You really do.
It doesn't.
I mean, I love you as a friend, but daggone, when it comes to gaming, I'm like,
Yeah,
watching my back and Sam, man.
Yeah.
Watch my back.
absolutely.
You gotta watch your front too.
You just can't trust him.
Just
You gotta
can't
watch.
trust
You
him.
gotta watch your side.
Untrustworthy. Says the most
Yes.
untrustworthy person in the room.
You can trust me. You can trust me to do bad things to
You
you.
trust me to- and you.
That's right. It's the honest.
You know, well, okay. Well, Scott, we have talked for an hour about your favorite things. So, or one of your favorite things. It's just your favorite thing. One of all of our, obviously, one of all of our favorite things.
Yeah.
So let's kind of go around the room and give some kind of final thoughts in general when it comes to board gaming. Kind of wrap up for the night.
Well, just get out, have fun. You may have to go through a couple of games if you're wanting to try to find a social aspect that you can get into. So I would,
There are
Yeah,
apps and stuff
yeah.
on the internet that can help out with that.
yeah, and BoardGameGeek.com. They're a good website, good resource to help. They rank games and stuff like that. Big community. I go there a lot just to check games and game rankings. So either I'm trying to find something new to pick up, I'll go there, or if I'm just kind of wanting to look for strategy, there's a ton of strategy there.
Yeah.
So I watch a lot of Eclipse videos. About 10% I can retain, but yeah, that's about it. So I know Plant is very good.
Or rules questions.
Yeah, rules
Yeah.
questions.
Great
Yeah.
resource.
Resources, online forums and stuff like that. You can ask questions.
So if our audience, if y'all are trying to get into gaming or looking at maybe getting into gaming, we've mentioned a lot of games tonight. Some good, some bad. But try to find some things. Try to start with the cheaper things first. That way you're not getting
Yeah. And
into
investment
into
in a
debt.
game,
Yeah.
you spend a lot of money on it and it
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
You're really out.
Yeah, so look things up online and kind of go from there. But have fun. Just have fun. Laugh about a terrible game if it is a terrible game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Final thoughts on gaming, man. I could talk about gaming all night long. I grew up in a small town in Alabama. I was very isolated, but I was very lucky to have a big group of friends that were into gaming like I was. I have very fond memories of playing things like Heroes Quest on weekends, making up quests with my friends, going out into the fields or creeks and acting out those games, spending, my weekend nights, Saturday and Sunday, sitting on the floor of the audio section of Books A Million, playing Magic the Gathering with a huge group of friends, getting together playing Dungeons and Dragons, getting together playing just about anything that I could put my hands on. Gaming for me has been something that I've been passionate about since I was very young. Since my dad first introduced me to a game called something of the Empire. I cannot remember. It was a game, Conquest of the Empire. It was a game about Roman conquest. Okay, and so like I would see him and his friends playing this game, and ever since I was 3 years old, I wanted to be a part of that. And so like it has been a passion of mine that long. Something that I have just really enjoyed getting together with friends on a night, really enjoying each other, playing, even if it's competitive. At the end of the night, we're still all friends. We still have a good time. And I find that's a great component of board gaming to me, is that it just has the capacity to bring friends together, to bring people together that you don't know, and really kind of forge these bonds that are, you know, very fond memories for me growing up. That's what I would kind of take away from that discussion and our listeners. You know, if you're thinking about getting into gaming, especially with your friends, make sure that, you know, you're picking out games that everybody wants to play. If you're going in together with gaming, like I used to do with my friends, you know, make sure that there's a clear system of who owns the game. You know, does it stay at my house for a week and go to your house? You know, there's a lot of that growing up that I had to learn the hard way. But you know, that's a part of it. Sometimes you are the person whose parents can afford to buy you a game, and sometimes you're not. Like a lot of times when I was growing up, I was going in with my friends to buy that 20-sided die because I didn't have any money. You know.
Yeah, sometimes you just don't have like room at your house or
or
you
resources.
have to like
You know,
store games at other people's
I grew
houses.
up in a
And have visitation
I
rights.
grew up in a household that where both my parents worked. You know, we didn't have a lot of money, but the money we did have was well spent. You know, because I learned a lot, I had a lot of fun, and it was a good time.
We didn't talk a whole lot about tabletop RPGs. Growing up with Eric and his dad and our families, we played a modified D&D game set in Middle Earth.
That's cool.
So we did, and so bringing in, you know, Tolkien lore and all this was all woven into the game. And one of the things that did, I mean, it was a blast, but one of the things it did is it engaged all of us kids creatively to come up with stories, to play your character, to, you know, come up with dialogue and what would be cool and what would you, you know, how do you do this? And it was just a really comprehensive, imaginative experience, you know, and you'd have to, you know, you do it for 4 hours at a time, right? So, you know, I'd go up there for the summer, you know, I'd get 6 or 8 weeks in the summertime, and we'd play, you know, every week, and I mean, the group of us who played that can like reminisce about campaigns and stuff for hours at a time because we're so invested in the game. You know, we each had our character, we had our character moments. Oh, that was a great idea. That didn't go well, or whatever it was, and just the level of investment paid off. You know, years later, even just in other pursuits like creative writing, or now you know we're going to tell a story, or animate a story, or write a book, or whatever we're doing. And it all came back down to, well, you know, we played games, we made puns and you know, bad jokes or good jokes, or it just worked out real well because the environment was just it was like set up for that, and so that was probably my favorite gaming experience. And you know, we played those characters for 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, we played those characters when I was in Lithuania.
Yeah.
Studying abroad. We arranged, you know, we played over Skype.
Wow.
Just to keep going.
Dedication,
Yeah.
That's dedication.
For hours.
See,
Hours.
that's the great thing
Hours.
about gaming, that you know, you can make your own stuff.
yeah.
When we ran out of campaigns for Heroes Quest, guess what we made? More campaigns.
Oh, yeah.
Different.
Oh, yeah.
You know, made up stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you, Aaron? Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I mean, if you're playing games, you're doing this, and you're not having fun, you're not doing it right.
Right. Totally.
It's so easy to get into a group of people and play games and have fun. If you've tried that and it didn't work, maybe it's the group of people you're with, maybe it's the game you were playing, but shift some stuff around because you should be having fun.
Right.
There's so much fun to be had.
Baseline, right there.
Yeah.
Gaming is fun.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, this has been another episode of White Noise Geek Culture and a whole lot more. Again, I'm Andrew Higdon here with Sam, Eric, and Scott, and this is us signing off for the week. Have a great week.